Have you ever felt like you belonged somewhere you've never been? Like a place your mind cannot name, but your soul somehow recognizes? Or met someone for the first time and felt an unexplainable familiarity, as if your connection didn't begin in this lifetime? These moments are easy to dismiss, yet they linger quietly, asking questions we rarely stop to answer. What if your current life is not the beginning of your story? What if it is simply one chapter in something much larger? A story that started long before you were born and may continue long after you die. Today, we are stepping into one of the deepest mysteries of existence, reincarnation and consciousness. Not as belief or religion alone, but through real experiences, research, and questions that challenge how you see yourself. When we talk about consciousness, we often assume it lives inside the brain, created by electrical signals and chemical reactions. That idea feels comfortable because it fits neatly into what we can measure and observe. But the more we study consciousness, the more it resists simple explanation. Thoughts appear without warning. Awareness continues even in silence, and identity feels deeper than memory. Scientists and philosophers still cannot fully explain why awareness exists at all. Some now suggest consciousness may not be produced by the brain, but instead experienced through it, like a signal passing through a receiver rather than being created by the device itself. If that idea feels strange, pause for a moment and reflect on your own experience. Think about times when you felt completely present, beyond thoughts, beyond fear, beyond identity. Moments of awe, deep love, or sudden clarity often feel larger than the mind. They feel fundamental, like touching something beneath language. Physics now explores theories where consciousness is as basic as space and time. Neuroscience continues to map the brain, but still cannot locate the source of awareness itself. The question remains open, and it is far bigger than it seems. Across the world, people report experiences that push this question even further. Near-death experiences are among the most studied and most controversial. Individuals who were clinically dead or near death often describe leaving their bodies and observing the scene from above. They speak of moving through darkness toward light, feeling overwhelming peace, and encountering presences that feel familiar and loving. Many say they were reluctant to return. What is striking is how similar these reports are across cultures, ages, and belief systems. Some people report something even more unsettling. During these experiences, they describe seeing not only their current life, but other lives, scenes, emotions, and identities that do not belong to their present existence. These memories do not feel symbolic or dreamlike, they feel lived. Imagine watching your entire life flash before you and then realizing it is only one of many. That realization alone could permanently change how you see yourself. Then there are the stories of children who speak about past lives. Young children who describe places they have never been, people they have never met, and events they could not have learned about. Some speak languages they were never taught. Others identify names, homes, and even causes of death that are later verified. Researchers like Dr. Ian Stevenson spent decades documenting these cases with careful methodology. These were not stories gathered casually, but investigated with skepticism and detail. What makes these cases compelling is not just the stories themselves, but the emotional intensity behind them. Many of these children speak with longing, fear, or grief connected to memories that do not belong to their current families. Over time, most of these memories fade as the child grows older. But during the early years, they are vivid and persistent. This raises an unsettling question. Are these imaginations or memories carried across lives? Skeptics often argue that children absorb information unconsciously from media or adults. That explanation works in some cases, but not all. Some details are too specific, too obscure, and too accurate to dismiss easily. Even when skepticism is applied, the phenomenon itself remains unexplained. At the very least, it challenges our assumptions about memory and identity. It suggests the human mind may be capable of accessing information in ways we do not yet understand. Modern science has not ignored these questions entirely. At places like the University of Virginia's Division of Perceptual Studies, researchers study near-death experiences and past life memories with clinical rigor. Their goal is not to prove belief systems, but to understand consciousness and its limits. They document cases with verifiable information and explore patterns across thousands of reports. These are not fringe mystics, but trained psychiatrists and neuroscientists asking uncomfortable questions. One major debate centers on whether near-death experiences are simply hallucinations caused by oxygen deprivation or chemical reactions in the brain. Some scientists argue that dying brains release vivid imagery as survival mechanisms fail. Others point out that many NDEs involve clear thinking, structured narratives, and accurate perceptions of events occurring while the brain was inactive. If awareness can occur without measurable brain function, that challenges everything we think we know. This leads to the deeper question: is the brain creating consciousness or filtering it? If consciousness exists independently, then death may not be the end of awareness, but a transition. This idea aligns with many ancient traditions that viewed consciousness as something eternal. But it also opens unsettling possibilities. If consciousness continues, what carries over? Memory, identity, emotion, or something deeper still? Reincarnation has been part of human thought for thousands of years. Hindu and Buddhist traditions describe rebirth as a cycle shaped by karma, intention, and awareness. Tibetan Buddhism even has structured methods for identifying reincarnated teachers, based on signs, memories, and recognition of objects from previous lives. These systems developed long before modern science, yet they continue to produce cases that puzzle observers today. At the same time, culture shapes interpretation. A child in one society may describe memories using spiritual language, while another uses neutral descriptions. Belief influences how experiences are understood, but not necessarily whether they occur. This raises another reflective question. How much of what we believe is inherited rather than discovered? How often do we confuse cultural narratives with personal truth? For many people, the idea of reincarnation is comforting. It suggests growth continues beyond a single lifetime and that mistakes are not final. For others, it is unsettling. The thought of returning again and again, possibly carrying pain forward, can feel overwhelming. These reactions reveal how deeply our beliefs about death shape how we live, whether we seek meaning, escape, or control. Some theories move beyond individual reincarnation entirely. They suggest consciousness may be part of a shared field, a collective awareness that individuals temporarily access. In this view, memories might not belong to one soul moving through time, but to consciousness itself expressing through many forms. What feels like a past life could be resonance rather than rebirth. This idea challenges personal identity at its core. If that were true, it would mean you are not isolated. Your thoughts, emotions, and awareness might be connected to something vast and shared. This could explain why certain experiences feel universally human. Love, fear, grief, and wonder appear across cultures with striking similarity. Perhaps consciousness is not divided as cleanly as we assume. Skepticism remains essential in this conversation. Critics argue that memory is unreliable and easily influenced. They point out how dreams, media, and imagination can create vivid inner worlds. They question whether meaning is projected onto coincidence. These critiques matter because they keep inquiry honest. But skepticism alone does not explain why these experiences feel so transformative to those who have them. Some researchers suggest a middle ground. Perhaps not all reported past life memories are literal reincarnation. Perhaps some experiences arise from subconscious processing, archetypal imagery, or inherited psychological patterns. This does not make them meaningless. It simply shifts the focus from literal interpretation to experiential impact. The experience itself still changes lives. What remains consistent across all perspectives is the effect these experiences have on how people live. Many who have near-death experiences report losing their fear of death. They become more compassionate, less attached to material success, and more focused on meaning. Regardless of explanation, the transformation is real. That alone deserves attention. So, we arrive at the question that matters most. Who are you? Are you a body and brain that briefly experiences awareness? Are you consciousness temporarily using a body? Or are you something that cannot be fully described by either? The answer may never be definitive, but the question itself has power. How you answer it shapes how you treat others, how you respond to suffering, how you face loss and uncertainty. If you believed this life was one chapter in a longer journey, would you act differently? Would you be more patient, more forgiving, more intentional? Even if consciousness does not continue after death, the reflection itself has value. It pulls you out of autopilot and into presence. It reminds you that existence is rare and fragile, that awareness itself is extraordinary. and that how you live now matters deeply. Whether reincarnation is literal, symbolic, or something we do not yet have language for, it invites humility. It reminds us that reality is larger than our current understanding, that mystery is not a failure of knowledge, but an invitation to curiosity. So as you sit with these ideas, notice what they stir in you. Memories, emotions, resistance, curiosity. All of it is part of the exploration. You do not need final answers to live thoughtfully. Sometimes the questions themselves are enough to awaken something deeper. If this exploration stirred something inside you, you are not alone. Many people carry quiet experiences they rarely speak about. Dreams that felt too real, moments of recognition without explanation. Feelings that life is both fleeting and endless at the same time. If you feel called, share your experience. Not to prove anything, but to connect. Because whether consciousness continues or not, the human need to understand itself is timeless. And sometimes, simply listening to one another is the closest we come to truth.